Hi, Kairos. I'm Evelyn Lumley, the CEO of Kairos Prison Ministry, and I'm sitting here with Craig Combs, the Men's Ministry Coordinator, and we thought we'd give you a little update on what's going on in Kairos.
So good morning, and I guess I'll just start by asking Evelyn some questions. So you talked about update of Kairos. What is going on? What update can you give us?
Well, the office is really busy. All the staff is doing a lot of different things preparing. There's a lot of tools that's been prepared and put out on My Kairos to help with trainings and with the team formation meetings and all kinds of things. And we're working on more while we've got this opportunity. But out in the field, there's some really neat things going. Kairos Torch is doing some mentoring on Zoom. Kairos Outside, we've had 3 weekends, and there's a few more being planned for this fall. And Kairos Inside is doing several reunion type things. One is a fence reunion that's happened at 3 facilities now in Alabama, or getting ready to happen, I guess. And they're doing those every 2 weeks in some of those facilities. And basically, the graduates are on the inside of the fence and the volunteers on the outside, and they're doing a little reunion at the fence, and it's just a neat idea. We also have several videos that have gone in to help encourage and to remind the graduates and the whole facility that Kairos is here and we can't wait to come back and things of that nature. So a lot of advisory councils meeting going on. It's election time, it's budget time, so we're still keeping the business and the opportunities of Kairos ministry going while we can't be in the facilities right now.
I've heard that people have asked if they can pray in the parking lot, so maybe the offenders inside could see. Got any stories about that? Or is that just something that's read?
No, we've had several of those scattered across the country. We've had events where they've gathered and sang songs and held posters up, and the offenders got to come out and into the yard and in different sections and be a part of it and listen. We've had prayer vigils both in cars and in parking lots and outside and work through. We've had some where there was a road around the facility, so they did a drive-by and honking the horns and playing music and signs, and sort of like the drive-by birthdays you hear about and things, and all kinds of things like that that's been happening by the volunteers engaging, and of course we gave some opportunities for the volunteers, to provide cookies and different things if the facility allows, just trying to keep us engaged and in front of the facilities as much as possible.
It's such a relational ministry. It makes sense that we need to continue with those relationships with our graduates, people on the other side of the fence, with the administration of the facility, and even with each other, the Kairos family. And I know that since things aren't happening so much, that the Kairos family misses each other. And so, it seems like the advisory council or the Kairos volunteers should do everything to keep the relationship with each other going on, since we are family. And there's a lot of people who, isolated, or probably more than they've ever been. And the Kairos family needs to reach out and touch them and pray for them. I heard a story about them having dinner on Zoom. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. Well, we had a couple of different things I've heard about like that. There was a fundraising event that was done on Zoom where they actually ate a meal together and had a fundraiser by inviting people that you would normally invite, like to a banquet, and they had great success with it. We've had advisory councils that just had a meal together, and just to encourage and to talk, and there's so many ways to fellowship without being together. But Craig, you're exactly right. We've got to be touching one another, picking up the phone and saying hello, or can I pray for you, or what do you need? It's a lonely time for many people, and I think it's a time for us to remember that we are in ministry when we're together and when we can minister to one another, not just when we're in the prison.
I think an advisory council scheduled Zoom meetings, and they had guest speakers come in. An ex-offender who now had a ministry of his own on the outside, and they met with chaplains from the DOC and things like that, and they invited everybody from all the advisory councils of the state in just to connect with other people in their state. And so, and like I said earlier, it's such a relational ministry. Seems like in this time we really need to focus on that even more, because there's a void and because we need it, and we love each other and we miss each other, so we need to be doing that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you see, Craig, that specifically some of the Kairos Inside communities can be doing right now?
Well, you mentioned that there are several Kairos Outside weekends that have already happened and may happen yet this year. Since Kairos Outside weekends, aren't dictated by the same rules that you can't go into prison, they can actually happen. And it seems like the Kairos Inside communities can be a great source of help and encouragement for them, not only coming along beside them, help them plan a meeting and make it happen, raising funds for them. Probably something that they always have a huge need for is to get guest applications for their weekends. And so if they can talk to their chaplain or whoever they talk to inside the prison about getting guest reservation forms from the people that live in the prison, so they can have guests on a Kairos weekend, so they can impact their whole family, and so they can have that life change and maybe forgiveness on the outside in preparation for when their loved ones get out. If they get out, that would just be the best thing we could do, is to get guest reservation forms from people in the prison, so we can have Kairos Outside weekends with a lot more guests. And guests are always a problem, getting guests, and oftentimes they have 20 applications, 25 applications, only half of those people come. So if we could somehow help them do that, that would be one amazing thing that would benefit the ministry, it would benefit the inmates, it would benefit the families. And I think as we can do that and share the love and forgiveness of Jesus, it can really impact the world. And forgiveness goes a long way to heal trauma, and it goes a long way for restoring families and relationships. And I think as ministers, we're all in the business of reconciliation. I mean, that's what God does, and that's what Kairos Outside does, that's what Kairos Inside does, and that's what they do together. So if we can help that happen, that would be one great thing to do.
That would be excellent. Besides all of the normal day-to-day business, we've got all kinds of things to do as this ministry and to help support one another. So let us encourage you in reaching out to one another, both within your local community across, from Kairos Inside to Kairos Outside and Kairos Torch, and support one another, and just find ways to do ministry right where we're at in the time that God's given us. And praise God, He is in control, and we'll be back doing our normal thing just as soon as we can. And in the meantime, let's keep active, Kairos. God bless you.